The rain came down in sheets that night, the kind that turns city streets into rivers and sends most people running for cover. But Tom Mitchell wasn't most people. He stood on the corner of 5th and Madison, his worn jacket soaked through, watching a figure stumble near the intersection. She was elegant even in distress, her designer heels useless against the flooding pavement, her silk blouse clinging to her frame as she clutched her side. When she collapsed against a lamppost, Tom didn't hesitate. He didn't think about his own problems, his empty wallet, or the fact that his 6-year-old daughter was waiting at home with a babysitter he could barely afford. He just ran. Tom had learned long ago that life doesn't give you what you deserve. It gives you what it gives you, and you deal with it. 3 years as a single father had taught him that much. His wife had left when their daughter Emma was just 3, decided motherhood wasn't for her, and disappeared into a new life across the country. No child support, no phone calls, just Tom, Emma, and a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens that smelled like the Chinese restaurant downstairs. He worked 2 jobs, morning shifts at a construction site, evening shifts driving for a rideshare company. Between them, he barely scraped together enough for rent, groceries, and the occasional new book for Emma, who devoured stories like other kids devoured candy. His own dreams, the architecture degree he'd started before Emma was born, sat abandoned in a drawer somewhere. Dreams were luxuries. His daughter's smile was necessity. That night, he'd been heading home after a double shift, every muscle aching when he saw her fall. Ma'am, are you okay?" Tom knelt beside her, rain streaming down his face. Up close, he could see she was younger than he'd thought. Maybe early 30s with striking features twisted in pain. "My ankle," she gasped. "I think it's broken. And my phone, it fell in the grate." She gestured weakly toward a storm drain. Tom looked around. The street was empty. It was past midnight, and this part of Manhattan became a ghost town after business hours. "Can you walk at all?" She tried to stand and immediately crumpled. Tom caught her, feeling how she trembled. Whether from pain or cold, he couldn't tell. "Okay, here's what we're going to do." He shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders, leaving himself in just a thin t-shirt. "There's an urgent care about 4 blocks from here. I'm going to help you get there." 4 blocks? "I can't." "Yes, you can. We'll go slow." Tom positioned himself beside her, letting her lean her weight against him. "What's your name?" "Victoria," she said through gritted teeth. "Nice to meet you, Victoria." "I'm Tom. Now let's get you out of this rain." Those 4 blocks took 45 minutes. Every step was agony for her, Tom could tell. But she didn't complain, beyond the occasional sharp intake of breath. They talked to distract from the pain. She told him she'd been at a business dinner that ran late, had sent her driver home, thought she could catch a cab. He told her about Emma, about how she'd recently decided she wanted to be a veterinarian, who also wrote books. Because why choose just one dream? At the urgent care, Tom helped her inside, dripping water all over their linoleum floor. The receptionist looked up with barely concealed annoyance until she saw Victoria's condition. "Do you have insurance information?" the receptionist asked. Victoria's face fell. "My purse. I must have dropped it when I fell." Tom saw her shame, recognized it like an old friend. He pulled out his wallet, counted what was there. $73. It was supposed to last until Friday. "Will this cover the initial examination?" he asked. The receptionist's expression softened. "We'll make it work." Tom stayed until a doctor could see her, until he knew she'd be okay. Victoria kept trying to thank him, kept saying she'd pay him back, but Tom just smiled. "You'd do the same for someone else," he said, though he wondered if that was true. In his experience, most people wouldn't. He gave her his number, written on a scrap of receipt paper. "In case you need anything, and so you can let me know you're all right." "I will," she promised. "Tom, I won't forget this." He nodded, already thinking about the $27 overdraft fee he'd probably trigger when his rent check hit. "Take care of that ankle." The next morning, Tom was on a construction site in Brooklyn, hauling materials in the June heat when his phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Mitchell?" "This is James Chen. I'm calling on behalf of Victoria Ashford." Tom nearly dropped a bag of concrete. "Is she okay?" "She's fine, thanks to you, Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Ashford would like to meet with you today, if possible. She has something important to discuss." Tom looked at his foreman, who was already glaring at him for taking a call. "I work until 3. We can send a car for you. To your home address at 3:30? Something felt surreal about this, but Tom agreed. When a black Mercedes pulled up to his building that afternoon, his neighbors gawked. When it took him to a skyscraper in Midtown with Ashford Industries, in gleaming letters across the top, Tom's stomach began to knot. The elevator rode to the 47th floor. The assistant who met him, James, led him through corridors of glass and steel that made Tom acutely aware of his construction site clothes and work boots. Victoria sat behind a massive desk in a corner office with views that stretched to the horizon. Her ankle was in a walking boot, but she stood when he entered, leaning on a crutch. "Tom!" Her smile was genuine, warm. "Thank you for coming." "I'm glad you're okay," he said, because it was all he could think to say in this place that felt like another planet. "Please, sit." She gestured to a chair that probably cost more than his monthly rent. "I want to start by properly thanking you for last night. You saved me, Tom. Do you know what would have happened if I'd stayed out there? The doctor said I was going into shock. The rain, the injury, the exposure." She paused. "You gave me your jacket. Your money. You had every reason to walk past me." Tom shrugged uncomfortably. "Anyone would have helped." "No," Victoria said firmly. "They wouldn't have. I've learned that the hard way." She picked up a folder from her desk. "Tom, I had someone look into your situation. I hope you don't mind." His face flushed. "You investigated me? I needed to understand who you are. And what I found broke my heart." She opened the folder. "You're 3 months behind on rent. You're working 90-hour weeks. Your daughter's school sent home a notice about unpaid lunch fees. You have medical debt from when she had pneumonia last year, and yet you gave a stranger your last $73. Tom stood up. "I should go. Please, wait." Victoria's voice stopped him. "I'm not judging you. I'm in awe of you." "Do you know what I do, Tom? I run a company worth $8 billion. I have 3,000 employees. I make decisions that affect thousands of lives. And last night I was humbled by a man who has every reason to be bitter, to be selfish, to look the other way, but who chose kindness instead." She came around the desk, leaning on her crutch. "I want to offer you something. Not charity, opportunity. I've been trying to expand Ashford Industries into sustainable housing development. I need someone who understands what it means to struggle for a home. Someone with vision and heart. Your foreman told me you have an eye for design, that you've been teaching yourself architecture through library books." Tom's throat tightened. "I don't understand. I want to fund your education. Full scholarship to Columbia's architecture program. And I want to offer you a position, starting immediately as a consultant on our housing initiative. $60,000 a year to start, full benefits, flexible hours so you can go to school and be there for Emma." Victoria's eyes shone. "You showed me humanity when I needed it most. Let me return the favor." "I can't. This is too much." "Tom," she placed a hand on his arm. "I grew up in poverty. A teacher once paid for my college application fee when my family couldn't afford it. That one act of kindness changed my entire life. This isn't too much. This is someone who was helped wanting to help in return. Please, let me do this." Tom thought of Emma, of the dreams he'd packed away, of all the nights he'd wondered if he was enough for his daughter. Tears blurred his vision. "Yes," he whispered. "Yes, thank you." 6 months later, Tom sat in his first design class at Columbia, Emma's drawing of him as a superhero architect taped inside his notebook. His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "How's the first day?" He typed back, "Like a dream I'm afraid to wake up from." "Then don't wake up," she wrote. "Just keep being the same person who stops in the rain for strangers. The world needs more people like you." Tom looked around the classroom, at the future spreading out before him like the city lights he and Emma could now see from their new apartment in a better neighborhood. He thought about kindness, about how one moment of choosing to help rather than walk away had changed everything. That night he read to Emma before bed, and when she asked if helping people always turns out this good, he told her the truth. "No, sweetheart. Sometimes you help someone and nothing comes of it, but we help anyway, because that's what good people do." She nodded sagely, then asked, "Will you always help people, Daddy?" Tom kissed her forehead. "Always." And he meant it. Because some lessons can't be taught, only lived. And the lesson Tom had learned was simple. In a world that often rewards selfishness, choosing kindness was its own reward. Everything else was just grace.